Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Sanderlanche podcast. Today, we read the Threnodite System essay from Arcanum Unbounded, and then the short story Shadows for Silence in the Forests of Hell. In this story, we visit Naz's home planet, and it's just as bright and cheerful and awesome as everyone always imagined that it would be.
I thought you were about to say as Naz himself. I'm like, wow, way to just cut the guy down.
I mean, we haven't seen that much of him. He doesn't seem like a cheery guy, to be fair, but we haven't seen him. I mean, we saw him like give Kelsey her knife, and he's like, "Hey, man, good luck," or whatever. So
good luck,
bad guy.
Here's a knife, Mr. A knife.
I'm Data, and with me today is
Jack
and just Joe. I know everybody's so disappointed Jaymee's not here. It's tragic.
She's feeling a bit crook.
Yeah, it's a shame. This is the only one we're going to be discussing this, but, it happens.
Yeah. And the protagonist is female. I mean, I feel like she's really missing out.
So, I guess let's get into this. Hang on to something, everybody. The Sanderlanche is about to begin.
You can yearn for life to be simple, or you can learn from strife. Let it build your core and refuse. Don't you bow to the abuse, and as the night falls blue, watching from a bird's eye view.
My revolution carries.
This song is The Savage Side of Me. So yeah, we read a big old I think before I said this one was shorter, but when I looked, it's actually longer than Six of the Dusk. So we're at a pretty decent sized short story this time. What did you guys think?
I really like this one. Yeah, I mean, I tend to like most things, let's be honest. But no, like I like the setting. I like the story. The way things played out was like, you got the silver rings, and like it really felt like a proper horror movie with all the shit that goes down in the forest. The end reveal of her keeping her grandmother's shade in the cupboard and letting it out to attack fucking dickhead, whatever his name is. That was another one of those really, we've been building to this old story without even realizing it, and it was fucking great. Not only we just see absolute shitbrain get his comeuppance, but like it's a payoff to all the stuff about her grandmother. She's getting payback on her grandmother. She's getting defense from Shades. There's the what's in the cupboard that we've been wondering all the time. It was a great ending. And it was a really cool little story. Fascinating setting. Again, bit different to everything we've seen before. Yeah, no, this is This and Six of the Dusk have made me think, should Brandon be writing so many novels? Maybe like these little short stories are his where he's at. But his novels are also good. But I really like this and Six of the Dusk. So
yeah, it's I feel like these are showing off. I mean, like you said, it feels different from all the other stuff and we've done, and it's these are all in the same Cosmere galaxy or whatever, but he is really good at making each place and each system of crazy magic stuff feel unique and interesting.
Yeah, and I think I don't know if it was you who told me or someone else, but I think someone said like even people who don't like Brandon's stuff or people who criticize Brandon's stuff will admit, but his world building is pretty good. He knows what he's doing there. So,
yep, definitely see that.
I did like it. I don't think I liked it quite as much as Dak. I think without the essay at the beginning, this would not have been a very good story for me, at least. I think the thing that these shorter stories suffer from, which I mean, what I'm about to say, many short stories suffer from, not just Brandon specifically, so I'm not picking on his specifically, is that there's a lack of knowledge about what is going on. Like these shades were given an explanation in the essay of kind of what they are, but at the same time within the story itself we're given almost no explanation. They're just these creatures. So it's like I can't decide whether I would have preferred it that way. I think I prefer it with the essay for sure. But I think without the essay, you're going to leave pretty confused as to like, well, what is going on? And similarly with Six of the Dusk, which I really, really love, the hard part about this one is like, this was a really cool world, but that's it. That's all we get, So it definitely leaves you wanting more. And sometimes that's not a bad thing. But in this case, I kind of feel like it was so many unanswered questions, specifically with the characters. Like Six of the Dusk, he goes around by himself. He's got the bird, you kind of like, you kind of understand because you're inside his head the whole time, like what's going on. There were some really cool payoff moments in this short story, but at the same time, there were so many things that I'm like, wait, I want to know more about this, and we don't get it. So I think this one just left me wanting a little too much more. So while I did enjoy it quite a bit, I would say that I did not enjoy it as much as Six of the Dusk or even some of the other longer stuff that we've read, because I just wanted more. But I still enjoyed it.
I mean, yeah, that's understandable that. And you're right. By the nature of the format, unless it's a short story set in a world that you're already familiar with, you can't world build as much in a short story as you can in a novel. It's just, part of the whole package. The Shadows for Silence came out in 2013, originally published in a George R.R. Martin anthology called Dangerous Women, which actually also had a Dresden Files story in it that I quite like about Molly. But Arcanum Unbounded didn't come out until... Arcanum Unbounded came out in 2016, so 3 years later. And all of these essays were written specifically for Arcanum Unbounded. They didn't exist before this book. So that's 3 years where nobody had the essay for context on it. And the first time I read it, I didn't have that extra information. But personally, I think that not having that makes it feel like scarier. You don't know what these things are. And
right.
I mean, you can trust Brandon that there is a logical explanation because his magic systems tend to have a logical explanation behind things, but you don't get it. You just get like, oh my gosh, what the fuck is going on? So I think that goes to Dak's point about it feeling kind of like a horror story, and I very much like, and I appreciate that personally, but I can see how it could be a little unsatisfying.
Yeah, no, the horror elements and the kind of suspenseful elements to it I liked, but I think maybe what I mean to say is like what this suffers from for me is like he makes some really cool characters in this. And like to me, the coolest character in Six of the Dusk is the main character, and he's the one we're with the most, and we get to see inside his head. And so for me, it's like that was satisfying because we're with that character the whole time. While Silence is a cool character, I actually think there's several characters in this story that are more interesting than her that I don't feel like we get to spend enough time with. And so that was probably like the part that I was kind of bummed out about. Like I think even though he's a jerk, I think Theopolis is more interesting than she is. I think Sabruki way by far the most interesting character, and we get to spend almost no time with her either. So yeah, it's just like some of those things I'm not as like thrilled about with this story, just because I was like, man, there's so many cool pieces and characters in this, and I feel like we just don't get that much time with them.
Sure, that makes sense.
Yeah, to your point, since you mentioned it, I hadn't even considered would I have enjoyed it more or less without the essay, and now I'm just racking my brain trying to think, what? Like, I don't know, and I will never know now because I haven't read it without that. So, yeah.
Oh well, we should have done it. It should have had like a control experiment where like one of us read the essay and the other two didn't.
Yeah.
I considered having you guys read the story before the essay, so you would, have that sort of reaction to it. But it goes back to like the same reason we read The Lost Metal before going into Stormlight, is like having the more information lets you kind of understand what's going on better, which I feel like is better for discussion, even if it's not better for like surprise as you're reading things.
Right.
But yeah. And I guess I will tell you guys that Brandon has said that there will be there will probably be a novel that takes place on this planet at some point. And so we will get more potentially.
I wonder if it's going to be a prequel or a sequel.
He said that like little bits and pieces have slipped out that he's let drop. Like I think it may be about like an expedition to the other continent that they escaped from or something like that, but not entirely sure yet because he hasn't actually written it yet. So.
Right. Hunter x Hunter style, huh?
But yeah, so that's something that's out there.
We done it.
So I guess we'll get into the essay first, since we read that first. And the first paragraph of the essay, we're getting some major like lore about these happenings in the Cosmere, where it's like, oh, by the way, kind of just after the shattering, Odium clashed with and mortally wounded the shard Ambition here. And Ambition would later be splintered, though the final act took place in a different location.
Which is an interesting tidbit. It's like, later he was splintered, not here. And I'm like, well, wait, what does that mean? Like, I know
it says that Odium mortally wounded him. So,
right. But what I mean is, like, I know that Ambition didn't splinter here. But, like, what does the fact that they splintered somewhere else mean for the greater, like, story, if anything?
Well, so what I took that as, we know that if the bearer of a shard dies, someone else can pick up the shard. So Odium killed Ambition, but then did someone else take the shard from Ambition? And
I don't know.
And then they got killed, and the shard was shattered somewhere else.
Oh, so
maybe
just like maybe it didn't get shattered this time.
Yeah, the original shard Ambition was killed here, but someone else got a hold of it before Odium could finish the job.
Interesting. The way that I read that when I first read it, at least, is like Ambition like ran away from this fight, and either Odium chased them down and killed them elsewhere, or they ran into somebody else who killed them, or something like that, or maybe just died of their wounds. But you guys you make a good point that there's other possibilities there.
You make a persuasive argument, Fry.
You're full of crap, Fry. So yeah, so we don't know, but we know that is another shard that is off the table now because it has been splintered, like we were told in Way of Kings that
Devotion and Dominion were.
Yeah, the Devotion and Dominion had been splintered. So
now just picturing like Odium has mugged Ambition in a back alley somewhere, and Ambition is running away begging for help, and then it's fucking Autonomy who comes around the corner and is like, oh no.
I feel like, and maybe we know that like the shards are roughly equal in power, and that's one of the reasons the two opposite shards of like Preservation and Ruin, like they were exactly
to each other.
Yeah, and so if Odium is gonna start some shit with one of the shards, I feel like he should have someone else backing him up, but maybe not. Maybe he's just found a way to tip the scales in his favor in these situations, because he's now killed. Or, I mean, we know that the shard that they called the Almighty is dead. Odium has killed me. So
four.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a full 1/4 of the 16 shards of Adonalsium. So yeah, he must have figured out some way to do it.
Yeah, that's a good point. I often wonder, like, does like Odium use people not necessarily as avatars like Autonomy, but like use other beings to manifest his will? Because I mean, it seems like most of the shards at some point use other beings to do things for them. Like Ruin had to do it because he didn't have his body for a really long time, but Autonomy did it as like part of her, kind of like that was her thing. But I don't know, like
Say's had Wax like doing stuff for him.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, so how much control can Odium exert on his own? Because I don't know, Say's seems like he does it out of like respect for creation and stuff, but like what's actually taking place? I wonder if there is some kind of actual limitation on them.
That's a good question. The direct clash between the two shards had a profound effect on the planets in this system. So it says that they're like out in space fighting, but the ripples of destruction washed through the system, and investiture, like some messed up shit happened as a result, basically.
Yeah. Well, and I guess that kind of answers my question, right? It's like, I don't think he could send people out to fight in space for him, so he's probably doing that himself.
Unless they have spaceships.
Yeah. Welcome to Earth.
And I like Chris is like, fortunately, I have personal access to someone from Threnody, the third planet in the system. And Naz has provided her with some records. And so she decided that there was some kind of investiture already there before this fight, but whatever happened during this fight with chunks of Ambition's power being ripped off, it did weird stuff to this system and the people of the planet. There's 2 continents, and the bigger one has been abandoned to something known as the Evil, which they don't really have any information about.
Yeah, it's
more.
Evil.
Iridium
so
took just a big steaming dump there, and it just became the ooze of evil.
Yeah, I'd buy that.
So everybody ran from that continent and has set up like on the smaller continent in sort of like refugee camps, kind of. She says even like the biggest cities don't feel like civilization. They feel like haphazard. She's like, this makes sense as the people there live in constant fear that the evil will find a way across the ocean. So whatever the evil is, it can't swim. That's good.
Quiet Place, got it.
Yeah.
And then it's like, or maybe they fear the spirits of the dead. Because, sometimes when people die, they turn into what we call a cognitive shadow, what they call freaky, scary ghosts.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I do love, she's like, look, there's a debate about whether cognitive shadows are really the soul of a person or not. I'm not going to weigh in on that. That's not relevant to what we're talking about. But a spirit infused with extra investiture will often imprint upon that very power. Kind of like we saw happen to Kelsier when he got infused with investiture in his spirit and he could stick around. Much as the Spren of Roshar becomes self-aware over time because of people's focus on the surges as being alive.
There's a lot of information there.
Yeah, there is. This excess investiture can attain the ability to remain sapient after being separated from its physical form. And she's like, the locals call them ghosts. I like to think of them in these more technical terms, but the most interesting line of this to me is where she's like, it's hard to visit the planet because there's not a stable perpendicularity. Only very unstable ones that cannot be predicted easily and have a somewhat morbid origin. Which
cool.
I want to know more about this, but we don't get to.
Yeah.
Naz had to perform like a satanic ritual just to get off the planet.
Could be. I'm wondering if like, is it something about like if somebody dies and turns into a shade, is there like a moment of like magic power that you could like slip through if you're there at just the right time? But I don't know. It's weird. I want to know.
That is weird.
So jumping into the story, which it even has this like weird symbol at the top. It's like, reminds me of like some sort of Freemason thing. That's the symbol for Threnody, basically. Even that just is weird. But we come in to a guy telling a different guy to watch out for the White Fox, the meanest bastard in these parts for sure. And we found out that this person, Dagon, is drinking in what I guess is essentially an inn, although they call them way stops. And we find out that the White Fox is a bounty hunter, very successful bounty hunter. And this way stop is out in the forest. And the forest is always capitalized, forests. There's no other forests. And this guy, the guy that Dagon is talking to, seems a little worried. It seems like maybe he's on the run from something. There might be a bounty out for him, which we find out later there is, but not a very big one. So, so the White Fox has been operating out here for 10 years, turned in over 100 bounties, but no one knows who he really is. And then we briefly meet Madam Silence, the Waystop's owner. Which the name Silence, that's it feels like one of those, you know, the names that you get in I can't even think of what it is now, but it's like Silence and Charity, where like the names are these supposedly these positive attributes that are given to people. I can't think of. There's like a group that does this.
I guess that. Well, I mean, is that supposed to track with what Dagon says? Like, oh yeah, I call this guy Ernest. I gave my name as Amity. Is it meant to be sort of in that same vein?
I guess so. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't think about that. Yeah, Ernest and Amity. Yeah.
So it's something about this culture that of this planet that they're giving names like this. It seems like.
Yeah, I didn't think about that till you said it. I did find it weird that like, you know, her name is Silence, but then her daughter's name is William Ann. I was like, okay. It's an interesting way to go.
That's true. That does seem like a very different.
Of course, she doesn't seem. You know, as we go, we find out she doesn't seem to have particularly loved her upbringing. So
I just Googled it, and it's that It's the Puritans who name people with these
Right. Well,
these names.
is that supposed to track with like the towns and cities are effectively just colonies thrown up on the coast? Looks like the old Roanoke style colonies.
Oh,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's kind of what he's paying an homage to here, because these people basically colonized this land that they're in.
So they're called virtue names or grace names. So names such as grace, felicity, faith, hope.
Mm.
So yeah, there you go. That was bugging me. I'm glad I figured it out. So maybe this culture has some similar, although we don't see. I don't feel like we hear about throughout the story. We hear about, is it the God Beyond that they mention?
Yeah.
Also something we've heard Wayne mention, actually. I recall in the Mistborn Era 2. I'm pretty sure the God Beyond comes up there. Let's see. So we find out that living in the forests is tough, although we don't know exactly why at this point. And Dagon is kind of I don't know if I can even say he's into Silence. He's actually not that into her, but he's like, maybe I'll marry her someday.
Someday.
Not that she seems interested in him in any way either, but we don't know their relationship. It might be more complicated.
Well, she doesn't think about him once.
No,
So
not at all.
It really seems like a case of, oh yeah, I could totally bet her, and like then he would ask her something, and she would just go, "Who the fuck are you again?"
Yeah.
And Silence goes into the back room where her daughter William Ann is doing some stuff, which we find out that William Ann's father is William, so I guess she's named after him.
That was my guess too. Yeah.
Yeah. Because they have the flashback where the grandma talks shit about the father and like, you're better off without him. So I'm like, did she name the daughter William just to spite her grandmother?
That would be funny, actually.
Yeah.
That's my new headcanon. Good call. Screw you, Grandma. I'm going to keep your ghost in the basement. So she tells her daughter, go fetch the book, quick. And so they keep a book with all of the wanted posters, essentially, hidden in the flower. They can't have anybody knowing that they're looking for this kind of, or on the lookout for this kind of thing. William Ann is like, oh, you're looking, it's that guy, the guy that we know as Ernest. It's him, right? And Patience is like, oh, that's just Lamentation Winebear, a petty horse thief. He's barely worth anything.
Lamentation.
What a terrible name.
It is, right? Although it almost feels fitting for this guy is that as far as we've gotten to know him at least. And it turns out that it's actually this group of like merchants who Dagon has specifically thought like, oh, these guys are like amateurs out here. They're going to get killed in 5 minutes. But it turns out that it is Chesterton Divide and his gang. Extremely dangerous, wanted for a variety of crimes, including assassination. He killed the governor of the most powerful fort city on the continent. And she's like, I wonder if he meant to do that or if it was an accident. But either way, there's a lot of money out there for this guy. And we find out that ever since the governor died, he's on the run, everyone's hunting him down. He just doesn't give a shit anymore and goes around robbing and murdering, and he's not a nice guy. So you don't feel bad about her wanting to collect his bounty.
Yeah, I guess he's like, well, I got a big target on my back. Might as well do whatever I want.
Yeah. And Silence asked her daughter, where's Sabruki? And William Ann's like, oh, she's off feeding the pigs. You don't think they'd recognize her, do you? And she's like, no, I'm worried that she'll recognize them. And William Ann is like, we're going to kill them, right? How much are they worth? And she's like, sometimes it's not about what a man is worth. But in this case, it kind of is, because these guys are worth a lot. So they put poison in the food, but not enough poison to kill you right in the middle of the way stop, because that would look bad. It is going to cause them to be kind of like cloudy-headed and dizzy, but not kill them. Because basically, she doesn't want suspicion coming back on the way stop. This is known all around as a place where, like, the crotchety innkeeper doesn't ask any questions, doesn't care who you are. You come, you stay here, you eat, whatever. As long as you pay, nobody's going to pay any attention to you, which is exactly the reputation she wants, since she is secretly the White Fox and collects the bounties for all these people. So she needs them to feel like they can come through here.
Yeah, and I have to say, that was well handled. I did not expect that to be the case. At the beginning when they're talking about the White Fox, I was not expecting this lady to be the White Fox. So pretty cool.
Yeah.
I guess it's
It
sort
is.
of a, it's like, oh, the butler did it. Like, who's beneath suspicion? Well, the innkeeper. No one ever suspects the innkeeper. So I really like that.
Yeah, just like Coat or Coat,
Yeah.
depending on. So we also find out that she's kind of adopted this little girl named Sabruki, who has an unfortunate history, which it gets into at some point. But basically, this guy, the guy who's sitting in the tap room right now, and his gang murdered her entire family while she hid under the floorboards. She's the last survivor of her family, and Patience found her and brought her back and gave her a place to live.
I mean, Silence.
Silence, sorry.
Yep. Thinking about those virtue names.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. There's a book where there is a character called Patience, and I'm mixing this up now, but I don't remember what book that is, and it's going to bother me.
There's an Australian comedian who once does a bit where he's like, he talks about, because I think it was mainly an American thing, and it makes sense if it was through the Puritan colonies and what have you. And he talks about, can you imagine if like modern day Australians took on that sort of thing? It's like, here's my son, top bloke. Or there's my other son, captain of the footy team.
Captain of the footy team.
That's putting a lot of pressure on him to become captain of the footy team. I don't,
Yeah,
Well, his whole thing was like, like they give them these names of these virtues they hope they grow up and have.
Yeah.
I hope he grows up to be captain of the footy team.
But Sabruki is a little girl who loves to do work. And she's out here like cleaning up. She's like, yeah, the pigs like it when their shack is clean. I was like, all right, you say so.
Well, and she's like, well, at least two of them.
Oh yeah, that's the best part. It's like that one and that one like it. The others don't care. Ezekiel and Jerem. I wonder if Silence named the pigs or if Sabruki has given them names.
Ezekiel and Jerem.
I feel like Silence seems like the sort of woman who just does not give an ounce of a shit if the pigs have names, so I feel like it was definitely the Sabruki.
Yeah, I buy that.
Yeah. What's she gonna name him for?
I'm out here tending bar and killing folk. The fuck do I care if the pigs have names?
I tend bar and I kill people. That's what I do.
I'm the best at what I do, bub.
Can't wait to see that on a shirt overtake the service industry.
Yeah, okay. That has some. I would not want to be waited on by this person.
No.
I mean, it's encouraged to be on your best behavior to the staff.
That's
It's
true.
true. Better
Yep.
be courteous.
And so Silence has gone out there. I'm gonna keep doing this apparently.
Patience. That's funny.
It's gonna bug me now too because I'm still thinking like, what is this book? I know. Anyway, doesn't matter.
It changes the entire like feel from the title, like Shadows for Patience in the Forest of Hell. Doesn't have the same ring.
You're right. Yeah, that would feel different. Shadows for Silence, because you didn't know her name was that, so it's like, what does that mean? Like, it's even after you know her name, it's still
still a great title.
Yeah. She basically came out here hoping she could keep the girl busy so that she wouldn't come into the common room. And so she's like, yeah, you keep doing that cleaning. I'm sure the pigs love it. Don't come inside. Silence is a 4 Scout, we learn, which is the surname her grandparents had taken as some of the first to leave the homeland and explore this continent. So she is a 4 Scout, and apparently that comes with a lot of expectations. Then she gets some stuff and goes out to the stable, and the stable hand is named Dob. And she's like, yeah, Dob, go ahead, take a break. I'm going to do some stuff. Nothing shady at all. Just go ahead and she starts feeding the horses something. And that's when Theopolis comes in.
Ugh, this guy.
Yeah, this guy is so sleazy.
Like, Brandon has come up with some characters that I have despised in the past. Many, in fact. But I gotta say, I don't think any of them have gotten under my skin quite as fast as this guy did.
Yeah,
Didn't have much
he
time
does
to
a good
do
job.
it, Ed.
Well, that's even more impressive then. It's like this guy's only around for a very short amount of time, and Brandon made every second count with this fucker.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're supposed to hate this guy, right? Like, there's nothing
Sure.
redeeming about him. He doesn't get much on screen time or on page time to begin with, so you're obviously meant to hate him immediately. But I would read a whole book about this guy. He seems like I don't know. He just seemed really interesting in his sleaze.
Oh, sure. And I think this is a distinction I think a lot of people forget these days. You can hate the fuck out of a character and still find them fascinating. You're right. This guy is really interesting. Still fucking hate his guts.
Oh yeah, he's the worst for sure.
Fair enough. Yeah, sometimes the villains that you hate are the best part of the book.
Yeah, for sure.
And so this guy, we find out he's a tax collector, which automatically no one likes him in universe and out.
Yeah, I mean, I think tax collectors are reviled in society in all ages.
Yeah, and not only that, but he's
tax collectors are like one step above parking inspectors and telemarketers.
Yeah,
think so? Parking inspectors, I don't mind because I don't ever screw around with parking. But
yeah, fair.
That just reminds me of Zootopia, where Judy Hopps has to, be a meter maid, and the little girl with her mom, it's like, my mom says she wishes you would die.
I've forgotten that. I watched that movie in yonks.
That is a good movie.
I really like that movie.
I feel like it's underrated. I feel like when it came out, people weren't that wild about it, but I thought it was really good.
And so this guy, he says, you haven't paid me for last month's shipment of silver. So I guess he's in charge of silver delivery. I don't know.
Yeah.
We don't yet know how important silver is, but I guess that's a hint, is like, you got a shipment of silver. Like, what's she doing with shipments of silver? It even says he has a whining accent that she doesn't like. So there's just nothing likable about this guy.
The silver thing, I'll admit. So it made me think two things. Like, one was like the Silverlight Academy, which I think is in this system. I think we've heard Chris mention that before.
Silverlight. Yeah, we've heard the Silverlight. We've heard about Silverlight before. I don't know that we've gotten details about like where it is.
I could have sworn it was like the Silverlight Academy or something. I don't know. I can't remember where we heard that. But that's one thing. The other thing that made me think of is I remember Brandon wanted to make silver part of the allomantic metals in in Final Empire and couldn't make it work. So this is him just going, I am going to make silver do something, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, right? It does feel a little bit that way. And so silver, he also mentions you need replacements for your protection rings. So we're gradually being introduced to what is going on there. And then he's like, hey, what's that you're putting in there? That looks like wet leak sap. I heard that glows at night if you shine the right kind of light upon it. So he's like, oh, I've discovered the White Fox's mysterious secret.
She uses UV lighting.
So we find out that this guy is the person who turns in her bounties for her so that no one figures out who the White Fox really is. And in exchange, he keeps half of the money. And he's also apparently rich. Because he goes, I could be a rich man with this knowledge, huh? And she goes, you're already rich. And though you're many things, you're not an idiot. This has worked just fine for a decade. Why would you want to change it now? And like he's like, a bounty? I wonder who it is. I'll have to go look in the common room. And she's like, no, don't go spooking people. And he's like, oh, no, it's fine, Silence. I obey your rules. I'm careful not to show myself around here too often. And he's like, oh, but you don't have to be all rude. What about all the trouble I've gone to for you or in your name? She's like, what are you talking about? And he has collected all of her debts. He's bought all of her debt because he wants to strong arm her into like having to give over her way stop to him, essentially. He's like, wouldn't that be more efficient if I just took over owning the way stop and you could keep working here? You just work for me. Those in Lastport have begun to worry that such an important waypoint is owned by an unknown element. And he's like, well, but maybe you don't need me to, pay off these debts for you. Maybe that bounty of yours is real big, huh? I guess we'll find out. And he mentions that the Forest Scouts, her people, were the first to homestead the forests, the first to stake a claim on hell itself. And she's like, hey, don't call the forests hell. This is my home. But apparently that's kind of how people know or knew this land before they moved here, as hell. So that explains like another part of the title.
It's like, oh yeah, we like this place called hell. It's the better option now that the evil has taken over the other. Man, we really do not live on a great world here.
Yeah, how bad must things be when hell is the better option? That's unfortunate.
Yeah, tomato.
Let's see. And after he leaves, she's like, how am I gonna get out of this? Everything is like coming down on me. And she thinks, well, kill Theopolis. That's what grandmother would have done. It's like, no, I can't do that.
Foreshadowing. It is what grandmother does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like the note that he theorized that she takes this stuff and puts it on the bottom of the saddles and like punches a hole so it gradually drips on the ground and she can follow it later. And we find out later that it's like, no, that guy's an idiot. Like, as soon as someone took the saddle off their horse, they would discover that someone was trying to follow them. No, she's got a different way of using it to her advantage. She heads back into the kitchen, and Sabruki is sitting on the kitchen table holding the crossbow that she keeps in the kitchen. And Sabruki's like, we have visitors, Aunt Silence.
Bum, bum, bum.
In a cold, monotone voice. So this is a creepy moment.
Yeah, like, and this is the moment where I'm like, Sabruki is way more interesting than all of the other people in this story. Like, what? Why are we not with Sabruki the whole time?
Because she gets put to bed early on.
I know, that's my point.
Oh, it's like 8?
Yeah, I think it says 8 specifically.
Okay.
And she already knows how to coat the crossbow bolt with poison. She's like, I did that right, didn't I? That way the
Did you
poison
say
will kill her.
Charity?
I didn't.
Did I say charity? I don't. What?
Yeah, no. Like Data just said charity. It's just like Charity knows how to coat the crossbow bolt. I'm like,
She already.
No, I said she already. I was
Yeah.
like, I don't think
Oh.
I mentioned a name at all.
sorry, I thought you said Charity. I'm like, how many names are you giving this woman?
No, but I figured I just
Silence charity.
finally figured out where I know where the name Patience is from. It's the Republic of Thieves. The third book in the Gentleman Bastard sequence has a character called Patience. It's
There you go.
Yeah.
fine. I'm glad I finally got there.
Another mystery well solved.
Yeah, I'm indifferent that you got there.
And she's like, no, Sabruki, we can't do that. Even if you manage to kill him, his men would then kill all of us. And she's
Are
like,
you sure?
I wouldn't mind, so long as I got to kill him. So long as I pulled the trigger. He's an intense kid, but, I mean, given what we find out about her history, I don't blame her.
Yeah, it's like Oreni Shi type stuff.
Yeah.
For sure. And Silence has to be like, what's wrong with you? You'd shed blood in this place of sanctuary, bring the shades down upon us. They'd kill everyone under my roof. People I promised safety. How dare you? So she has to, like, shame this child and be like, look, I brought you here and you're going to do this shit. I give you a home, and this is how you repay me. And then Sabruki shakes and drops the crossbow, and it almost hits Patience. It says passes within an inch of her cheek, breaks a window, and goes outside somewhere. And it's like, oh, damn it. There's silver on that bolt. That's valuable. I have to get that back.
Also,
Sabruki
just like
said,
the freak out. It's like, oh my god, am I bleeding? Am I bleeding? And like,
Oh,
she
yeah.
just loses her mind over it. That's when I think that was the moment where I went, man, this shit is real serious.
well, yeah, because we hear her say, like, you'd shed blood and bring the shades down upon us, but we haven't been told exactly what that means, how it works yet. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Sabruki's like, I heard it all. Mother never cried out. She knew I was there. That's why I could be strong, even when the blood came down, soaking my hair. It is 100% like Kill Bill.
Yeah, might as well be like,
Yeah.
whimper.
And Silence remembers, like, Sabruki's father was a good guy. After what went down, like, no, everyone was scared to go there. Silence only went there because she was looking for some stuff she could take, essentially. And she found the corpses of 12 people, the whole family slaughtered right down to the children by Chesterton and his men. Sabruki was the only survivor.
Miles 100 lives.
And she's like, I wouldn't have even found the girl, except that Chesterton had been careful to line the room with silver dust to protect against shades as he prepared to kill. And she was like, oh, maybe I can collect some of this silver dust and reuse it. And then she, like, between the cracks in the floorboards, sees eyes staring back up at her.
Yeah. That's confusing to me. Did he, like, he waited for them to all be asleep? Because, like, how do you scatter silver? I guess you could do it on the outside of the house. But, well,
Yeah, I don't know. That's a fair point.
Well, no, because if Silence is collecting the silver dust and sees Sabruki through the floorboards while she's doing it, that says the silver was inside the house.
Yeah, I don't know if he, like, they came in weapons drawn and were like, okay, everyone freeze, and then they put silver around, and I don't know. 12 people that they killed, I feel like it would be hard to hole all those people while you put silver in a circle around the place. But Chesterton had burned 13 different homesteads over the last year, so he's been busy. So, as I said, they really build it up, so we don't feel sorry at all for this guy as she goes to collect his bounty. And Sabruki's like, "You're going to kill him, right?" And she's like, "You'll bring Jim to justice?" And Silence says, "Justice died in the homeland. But yes, I'll kill him." And then she gives Sabruki some stuff to make her sleep and puts her to bed upstairs. And Sabruki's like, "I'm sorry about the crossbow," because she broke it when she dropped it. And Silence sings her a little song as she goes off to sleep. And an hour later, Silence is getting ready to follow, and this is where we get the rules for the first time. They actually lay them out for us. Don't kindle flame, don't shed the blood of another, don't run at night. The simple rules by which every homesteader lived. So the don't kindle fire is interesting to me because it's not about the fire. We find out that there's people who like go around selling fire. They bring fire in and you can light your fire from that existing fire. You just can't create new fire, which is such a weird little distinction that I find it interesting.
Yeah.
Silence had purged the waystop of all the other reminders of her grandmother beyond the silver dagger, all save the shrine to the god beyond that was set behind a locked door beside her pantry. So she lets her grandmother stay in there with the shrine, I guess is what we find out later. "You like this god so much, you hang out here, ghost. Where's your god
grandma
now?" Yeah.
Sounds like a 90s cartoon. I got ghost grandma in my basement.
It does, right? Okay, she takes some silver dust with her because it heals withering. And she takes an oil lamp. She'd only light it if she ran across somebody else who already had a fire going. And she brought a keg of gunpowder. And her daughter's like, "Wait, really?" She's like, I probably won't need it, but better to have and not need, right? So igniting gunpowder counted as kindling flames, at least to the Shades. And it drew them almost as quickly as blood did, day or night. The early refugees from Homeland had discovered that in short order. So they showed up to this continent already having gunpowder technology, but discovered very quickly that it was a bad idea to use it.
Ghosts hate guns.
Apparently. And we also find out that the blood thing is very specific. Like, if your nose starts bleeding, that doesn't count. It has to be blood of another shed by your hands, and the Shades will go for the one who shed the blood first. After that person was dead, they didn't care who they killed next, but very specific.
Really does sound like they just hate, like, the ghosts hate conflict and the things that stir up conflict. They go for the person who shed the blood. They don't like guns. They don't like people who start fires. It's kind of like, if it's already happening, whatever. But if you go out of your way to do something harmful, the ghost is going to fuck you up.
Yeah. I wonder if that is it, because I hadn't thought about it quite that way, but you're not wrong. You could relate those things to, like, conflict. They also hate you if you run at night. So I don't know how that
I can't answer that one.
Yeah.
It's not a perfect analogy.
Yeah, they're just like, we're really averse to anybody moving quickly.
Yeah.
Like, everybody just needs to slow down, chill out, smoke a J.
They're just trying to encourage you to be more chill. That's what it is. All around. No conflict. No running.
No running.
You're really just killing my vibe here, man.
That's what the ghosts are all about, the vibe.
Dude, we just love the vibe, bro.
Why you
Okay.
gotta be so negative?
Yeah, man.
They're not scary. They're just, they don't like it when you harsh their vibe.
You're harshing my mellow, bro.
So William Ann is decided she's going to go along with her mother tonight. And while Silence tries to stop her, eventually she's like, okay, fine. Because William Ann has some good arguments. Like, you're not young anymore, and I'm going to have to start doing this at some point. So, and we really need this money. William Ann doesn't even understand how badly they need this money, but they do. And so they head out into the forest, and you can see the ghosts. They just kind of hang out. They barely have human forms any longer. The heads rippled, faces shifting like smoke rings, and they trail waves of white behind them.
Yeah, they're just out here vibing.
So, yeah, they just float around, and as long as you don't do any of the things that they don't like, then they don't even kind of notice you're there, except for the fact that we find out, I don't know if it's here or if it's a little bit later, but it's like, if it's just a normal night, you're not moving fast, if they drift near you, they'll kind of just like drift away, like there's naturally slightly repelled by people. So don't kindle fire, don't draw blood, and at night they respond to rapid motions. They don't ever during the day, but at night they don't like it. And so she pulls out her jar of like glow paste, and she gave the horses that stuff in their water so that when they pee, the pee will illuminate under this light, and that's how she can follow them. She also slipped something in there that made them pee more, so it worked out. We find out that around the way stop, there are 3 concentric rings of silver, like anchored into the ground. You have to actually dig down and unlatch them to get them out, because there's concrete under the ground that they're latched into. And she has to periodically replace them, because the silver repels the shades. But when it does, you like ruin it slightly. So over time, the different spaces on the ring get messed up just from shades randomly drifting into them. Rabbits and turkeys get caught in snares or raised to be sold for silver. Not hogs. Only someone in one of the forts would be so crass as to eat a pig. Which, random. All right.
Hey man, they got some kind of thing on pigs. I dine on swine, but not everybody does.
She has a bunch of pigs we found out earlier. So if you don't grow them to eat, I don't know what you have them for.
She seemed to indicate that they were good for fighting against shades as well, though she never elaborated on that.
The ghosts are coming. Send in the pigs.
Our last line of defense. And as they're going through the forest, following these 5 guys, they have a conversation. William Ann is like, "Why don't you believe in God anymore?" And eventually, Silence is like, "Well, I do believe, but I don't worship. All the old books, they called this land the home of the damned. So if we're already damned, what good is worshiping?" Interesting point. If you're already in hell, then why mess with it? Okay.
Sure.
Yeah, I hear. Unless enraged, shades moved away from people who got too close, as if blown by a soft breeze. So there's that bit. So as long as you're moving slowly, then you won't have to worry about randomly running into shades, which is good because bad things happen when the shades touch you. And so they find the campfire these guys have. Is it a campfire? I'm sorry.
Isn't it like jars of glow paste or something?
Maybe. Anyway, first they find the guy who's like on watch, and he's not having a good time. He's got a headache. He's like moaning. He's not in a good way. And Silence loops a garrote around his neck and strangles him to death. Not the best way to kill a guy in the forest. It was too slow. And also he starts thrashing, as you do when someone is trying to strangle you to death. And the movements of his arms and legs are a little too rapid, and the shades start to take a little bit of notice. It says their own faint natural luminescence fading as their forms bled from white to black. And she's like, "Come on, die, stop moving." And he does die, and the shades go back to their normal color. She's like, okay. So there was one guy on watch. The other 4 should be sleeping. And they have, or Silence has a standard approach that she takes to these things. She has burlap sacks, and you put the burlap sack over the head and you smash it with a hammer. So that's nice. And the sack is lined with tar, which keeps the blood from leaking out, so the shades don't see the blood, and everything is good.
Yeah, everybody wins except the guy who dies.
Yeah, except the guy in the bag. And so they go around doing this to a couple of guys, and then one of them is like, "Wait, what? What's going on?" and notices, and she has to kind of jump on him and try to choke him out as well, and that awakens the last guy, who runs for it. And of course, it's the guy that they're here for, Chesterton, the guy with the big bounty on his head. So we can't let that guy get away, damn it. No corpse to turn in meant no bounty. And so they go after him, and he's like, "Oh, you're the innkeeper. You poisoned me." And he tries to be like, "I'll pay you." But he's too weak from the poison to kind of fight back effectively. And she manages to get him down and wrap the bag around his head. Or I'm sorry. She gets her sweater around his head. She says, "I need a bag. William Ann, I need a bag." And so they get a bag over his head, and the sweater's still there, so it muffles his screams as she beats him over the head several times with a stone. That's nice. But finally, he's dead. Everybody's dead. It's all good. And she briefly remembers as she sees dozens of green eyes in the forest from the shades. She remembers her last night with her grandmother. Her grandmother's the words, "Run, girl, run." They'd been close to safety. Even then, grandmother hadn't made it. She might have, but she hadn't. Which Silence doesn't seem very fond of her grandmother from everything we hear, but losing her still was, a big thing. And then, as they're sitting there like, oh, I can't believe that we pulled this off, a bunch of people show up. 8 men and women on horseback just ride up. It's like, oh man, look at this. All 5 men in Chesterton's gang killed by a couple of forest homesteaders. And the guy in charge is Red Young. I've been tracking this lot for 4 months. I can't thank you enough for taking care of them for me.
Red Young sounds like the name of the character John Wayne would play.
Yeah, I can see that. Whenever somebody has the name Red, it makes me think of that 70s show.
Yeah, I can see it.
Which is not the most positive depiction of a guy named Red. So I don't have a good image of that.
Probably the most famous indication of a fictional character named Red, at least that I can think of.
Mm.
Yeah. Speaking of which, Jay and Silent Bob are going to be in that 90s show.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Going to be in an episode of it.
I didn't realize that that show was going.
Yeah, it's a Netflix show. It had a first season a couple years ago, and the second season's about to come out.
I remember the first season. I thought that I guess I just assumed it was canceled after that, so I hadn't heard anything since then about it.
I feel like they're taking more time in between these Netflix shows now. Like, I guess trying to gauge, reaction and like if people want to keep seeing it, or I don't know.
Yeah, you don't want to invest too much if it's not going to be popular. I get it. And William Ann does not want to give up their hard work to these people, but this is 8 people with like crossbows and shit. There's no way that you're gonna win. These 2 women, tired at that from what just happened, are gonna win against them. So Silence tries to negotiate. Like, you got to give us something, like a quarter of the bounty. And he's like, sure, 1/4 it is. Like, yeah, you're gonna see that money. And after they leave, William Ann's like, you think he's actually gonna pay that? And Silence is like, hardly. We're lucky he didn't just kill us. Come on. It's time for you to go back to the way stop. And she's like, well, what are you going to do? I'm going to get our bounty back. And so she comes up with a plan, a daring plan, I think, where first off, she suspects that these guys weren't just randomly out here. They didn't randomly stumble across them just at the moment that they got this bounty. She thinks Theopolis put them on her trail in order to get that way stop for himself and stop her from picking up the bounty. So that's just more source of him being, an asshole.
Just the worst.
Yep. So what Silence comes up with is she basically sets a booby trap where she has one of the little things that you use to light like a Bunsen burner that has a little arm that you squeeze it, scrapes across and makes sparks. She's like, I never use it because that would make the shades come at you, but I know how it's supposed to work. So she's going to set up this trap where that is connected to a wire across the path, which is connected to the keg of gunpowder that she has. And honestly, I'm impressed because it goes pretty much exactly like she planned. A hoof hits the trap. There's a big explosion. It takes a second. She's like, for a moment, she's like, oh man, is the fire starter broken? It didn't work. And then boom. And so
medieval landmine.
Yeah, essentially.
Maybe not medieval, but yeah, whatever.
And so because of the way she set up the trap, these guys are the ones who kindled the fire, quote unquote, even though they had no idea what they were doing. And so the ghosts go after them. The shades. I'm sorry, they're not ghosts. They're cognitive shadows. Which this is a great time to remind you guys of something you might have forgotten.
What's that, Data?
Is it that Kelsier was a cognitive shadow? Because I could totally see Kelsier just going, man, these guys got the right idea.
Kelsier was a cognitive shadow, yes. But that's not exactly what I was talking about. So, back in Secret History with Kelsier, he sneaks into the fort that the Elantrians are using. And one of the guards spots him and is like, oh, I saw something. I saw, like, something go into the wall or, like, stick his hand into the wall and then be repulsed or whatever. And he tells his superiors, who they start looking, and The quote, the other guard says, "How would a Threnodite have made it all the way here? It defies reason, I tell you."
Oh.
And then later on, when Kelsier snuck in and he finds the Elantrians like discussing what's going on, the lady says, well, it says the ancient creature said, because the Elantrians look weird. She says, well, my foresight does not seem so foolish now, does it, Captain? The powers of Threnody wish to join the main stage. Engage the device.
Ah.
And the device is, let's see, does it say? Kelsier's like, whatever that device does, it's not going to go well for me. Like he's thinking. There's a gem surrounded by a lattice of golden metal holding it in place, about the size of a desk clock. And so they engage the device. There's a golden light within the gemstone, and it fades. And Kelsier feels nothing. And the captain's like, see, there you go. Nobody from Threnody within a day's march of here. Looks like a false alarm after all. Which, here's another little thing. If you guys remember, we've seen a device with a gemstone that tells you when people are getting close in that one interlude. Sorry, the word escaped me for a minute. When we met Vistum and he was waiting for the Shin to show up to trade with him, and he had the Fabrial, the alerter that told him when people were getting close. This seems to be something similar. And then the captain says, after there's no one nearby, he says, I do not doubt your foresight, Ancient One, but I do trust my forces on the Threnodite border. There are no shadows here. So there you go. All the way back in Secret History, we had no idea what they were talking about, but they're worried about these shadows, the shades
of self
from Threnody.
Oh, sorry.
And the captain has people on the border preventing them from getting here. So there's more going on than meets the eye, kind of in that.
Or just like, the Elantrians have just set up shop right on their border, and the Shadow's just gone, you hear these guys fucking running all the time? Let's fuck them up.
That could be right. I wonder what they what it's like in the cognitive realm with them, because we see them here in the physical realm, but that part of Secret History happens in the cognitive realm. So
It's true.
Yeah.
Shadesmar, as we find out later that it's also called.
Shadesmar. Shades. I get it.
Well, it's like we learn from Secret History that when something is in the cognitive realm, it thinks and is like in some way a little bit aware of what it is. So the ghosts just like they're aware that they're spirits of people who have passed on, or
Maybe. But this is a good question.
Why do they
Also,
eat
like-
flesh though? What's the point of that?
Blabbing.
Well, they don't eat it here. They just wither it.
Why do they wither?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the question.
Yeah, it makes me think, okay, so Kelsier became a cognitive shadow very similar to these guys because the investiture that preservation gave him, punting him in. So if there are so many of those on this planet, is this Ambition's investiture just leaking out and just latching onto every dead person it can find, and that's why they all keep hanging around?
Make them ambitious?
And it's clearly people haven't been sent after they die in Final Fantasy X. And they become fiends.
It does have a little bit of a similar feeling, right? I like that apparently the fight between Ambition and Odium happens right after the Shattering. So I feel like Odium knows that a guy named Ambition is going to be trouble. So let's go ahead and take care of that one right up front.
The guy's ambitious. I got to get rid of him.
Yep.
And can you imagine how much we could have avoided if Odium had thought to himself, all right, Ambition's a threat, but what about that guy who just lives to ruin everything?
Right? Yeah.
I guess I like that guy because he ruins stuff just like me.
Yeah, but then it's
So
you have to imagine Odium be like, who ruined all this shit before I had a chance to?
Maybe.
Ruin.
We don't really know much about Odium's kind of what he's after exactly, why he does what he's doing. So
does it because he loves it?
Maybe. Or
Because
does
you
Odium
get
love it all? Odium is hatred, right? So
He loves to hate.
Well, why do I even bother? Because you get off on it? Oh, maliciously.
So the explosion goes off. The Shades attack the people, the survivors of the explosion, because fire was kindled, and but also they have to get in there and drag away their bounty. And so they're close enough that the Shades start to kind of go after them too, because they can't let the Shades get at the dead body. If they wither it too much, then they won't be able to prove this is who they say it is. So There's no DNA test. And so they get in there, they take the body, and then they try to back away. And she tells her daughter, you go, I'll catch up, but you're not ready for this. And Silence stays behind to fight them. So William Ann has to crawl away with the body, but she has to do it slowly because quick movements attract the shades. While Silence stands there with her silver dagger and kind of like starts swinging it at them. And she remembers her grandmother teaching her how to fight a shade. Never creep back and cower before shades. You are Forest Scout blood. You claim the forests. And she cuts through one with her silver knife, which makes bright white sparks.
This is the illustration at the start of the story, isn't it?
Yep.
This bit. That was a cool picture.
It's cooler now that you know what it is. When you're just looking at it like with no knowledge, it's kind of like, what is she killing fireflies? What is happening here?
Well, no, because you can see like lower down in the picture, you can see like the outline of a whole shade.
Oh, maybe I just wasn't looking closely enough. Let's see here.
You can see like eyes and look like hands.
Oh yeah, you see like she's calling it like tendrils, but yes, above her and yeah, okay, yeah, good point. But some of these dark spectral hands reach out and grab her arm below the elbow. You can't like grab them; they have no substance, but they can grab you. So that's no good.
That's always what you love.
Yeah.
Monster you can't grab, but it can grab you. Super fun.
And she kind of slices it away, but her arm is so cold. And she looks down, and her hand is like withering, pulling in towards the bone. And she hears her grandmother's voice. You stand there, Silence. You do as I say. No tears. Forest Scouts don't cry. And so she has to like fix her hand by putting silver on it. That's why she brought the silver dust to cure withering. Unfortunately, William Ann rushes over to do that and dumps like the whole bag of silver dust. And she's like, "Oh, damn it. You don't use the whole thing. Like, we need that." And so now it's all over the ground of the forest. It's going to be hard to get back in the middle of the night on the ground with shades everywhere. So, well, you do what you got to do. And as they leave, she hears something. She's like, something else is out there. And all of a sudden, Red is here, holding a dagger to William Ann's neck. He had not fared well in the fight. One eye was now milky white, and half of his face was blackened. A shade had gotten him across the face. He was lucky to be alive. And he's like, "Give me your silver." And she's like, "I only have a knife. Also, it's too late for your face, dude. You're done." And he still wants the body. "You killed my crew. They're all dead. If I hadn't rolled into the hollow, I had to listen to them being slaughtered." And he's like, "You killed them." She's like, "They killed themselves. You come to my forest and take what's mine? No. Now the girl's going to carry the corpse, and you're going to wait right here. I don't want you to come near." So Red is going to take William Ann, take the corpse, and head out and leave Silence behind. And then a padded crossbow bolt comes out of the night, hits him in the shoulder, causes his blade to cut William Ann in the neck, and blood has been shed, and this is bad. Of all the rules, this is the worst one. Because we find out earlier, it's like the shades can't smell fire, but they can smell blood. Like, once the fire attracts them, they're doing whatever. But once the blood is shed, you can't get away. And Red is oh hell, because they come straight for the one who draws the blood, and he's dead fairly rapidly as these things go.
To shreds, you say?
Yeah.
There were several eerie voices. They all whispered, "Good vibes only."
Good vibes only. Get out of here.
And as he turns to run, William Ann gets pushed through a shade and her face withers. And Silence is like, "No, I need silver." And she finds a little bit of silver dust in her pocket. She knows it's not enough, but the way stop is close and there's more silver there. But also, we can't lose the corpse. We need that corpse. But no, the shades would have it. Warm enough flesh soon after Red was gone, there would be no bounty. And then she can feel her daughter spasming as she dies. She'd become a shade if she died like this. So apparently, you can be fairly certain that you will become a shade if you die in this particular way. It made it sound kind of random before, but then you hear Red screaming, and then he cuts off, and he's done.
Yeah, he was kind of an ass.
Yeah. And there's a moment where she's holding this little bit of silver dust, and it says she longs to pour it on William Ann to save her a little pain, but she knew with clarity that it was a waste. So instead, she makes a little circle of the dust around them. What else could she do? And she starts whispering this song to her She screams up into the night, like, why did you send us here? What's the point? And the shades are pressing up against their silver barrier, and it starts to fail. And then just in front of her, she sees something weird. Something like a crossbow bolt with a silver head. It's that bolt from earlier.
That was a nice little payoff. I really liked this.
Yes, I did not expect that to come back. It was a perfect payoff. And so apparently she managed to get a hold of the silver-tipped crossbow bolt and use it to fight their way out. And she gets her daughter into the way stop. Her hand is partially is withered again now. And she's almost done as well. Like, she's having trouble concentrating as she finds the silver powder, dumps it on her daughter's face, and is thinking, please, please. And then we cut away to darkness, and now we're with her and her grandmother. We were sent here to be strong. It's the God beyond that sent us. It's part of the plan. And Silence is like, it's easy for you to say that. You can fit everything into this nebulous plan. Her grandmother will not hear blasphemy from her. You rail against the God beyond, but it will change nothing. William was a fool and an idiot. You're better off. We're 4 scouts. We survive. We will be the ones to defeat the evil someday. And this is the moment where she tells her mother that I am with child. And her grandmother says, William? Who else? And then just says nothing more.
It's like, what do you think? I'm a floozy?
And Silence says, no condemnation. And her grandmother says, it's done. We're 4 scouts. If this is how we must continue, so be it. I'm more worried about the way stop.
My favorite line from Juno was when Juno tells her parents, like, she's pregnant, and they're just like, what? And they ask who the father is, and she says it's Michael Cera's character. And the dad just looks at the mom and is going, him? I didn't think he had it in him.
Silence wakes up. She's alive. Dobb, the stableman, is there. And it looks like he used some silver on her as well. She sees William Ann, not dead, but her left side is pretty messed up. Her face isn't too bad, but her hand was with a withered skeleton. They'd have to cut that off. Her leg looked bad too. And Dobb is like, did you get him? Who? The bounty. Yes, I did, but I had to leave him. You'll find another one. The fox always does. And she's like, how long have you known? I'm an idiot, ma'am, not a fool, he says. Good on you, Dobb. And then she examines her daughter more closely. Leg's actually not that bad. She'd only lose a few toes probably. But the entire left side of William Ann's body was blackened as if burned. That would fade with time to gray, but everyone would know what had happened. But they've pushed forward. You do what needs to be done. And so she's like, well, I didn't get the bounty. What am I going to do now? How am I going to pay off Theopolis? She's making breakfast the next morning, and in the door walks Theopolis. And she's like, I know what you did. You do? But see, I do many things. About what do you speak? Oh, that just makes you even worse when you're such a, wordplay dick about it.
They mentioned he has an annoying voice. I imagine he's, really nasal. It's like, I do many things. Of what do you speak?
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't you know that I know lots of stuff? I'm like king of the castle here, so what the hell are you talking about? I got this one friend who loves jam. Come on. Should meet him. His name's Capsule.
But he pretends like he doesn't know anything she's talking about. She says, you're in the forest, you followed us, you shot him with a crossbow to make him draw blood. Why? And he's like, blood in the night? And you survived? Oh, you're quite fortunate, I should say. Anyway, I've come for payment of debt, and you have no bounty to turn in. And then she tells him, your feet are glowing. You followed me. You were there last night. And he goes, and? And like she's thinking, grandmother would have just killed him. And after this, she's kind of feeling a little bit that same way.
I have had a long fucking night. I do not need your shit right now.
And she backs up and takes the key out for this door in the kitchen and unlocks it. And he reaches out and grabs her and pulls her away as she pulls open the door. And he's like, oh, you going for the crossbow you keep on the pantry shelf? Yeah, I know about that. I'm disappointed. Can't we be civil? And she gets a little speech about, I'll never sign your document. I'd sooner die. And he just slaps her and says, oh, do shut up. Such dramatic silence. I can't be the only one to which you'd live up to your name. Oh, so condescending. I hate him.
Yeah, That's the payoff right there for the name.
Yep. And there is a single drop of blood from him slapping her. And he's like, we're safe in here. There's 3 rings of silver around this place. We're fine. She goes, Fort City fool. Always follow the simple rules, even when you think you don't have to. And I wasn't opening the pantry as you thought. He looks over, and there are red eyes looking at him as a jet black form coalesces in the shadowed room.
Oh, you done fucked up, son.
He didn't get to scream as the shades took his head in its hands and drew his life away. It was a newer shade, its form still strong, a tall woman, hard of feature, with curling hair. You should have run, Theopolis. His head began to crumble, and his body collapsed.
Oh man, the ghost of Judi Dench just fucked you up.
Yeah. Hide from the green eyes, run from the red. Your rules, grandmother. And the shade turns, looking at her with those dead, glassy eyes of the matriarch she loathed and loved. I hate you. Thank you for making me hate you. And she has her silver-tipped crossbow bolt, like to hold out in front of her so the shade doesn't come close. And she kind of like ushers it back into the room and locks it up again. Almost she thought it remembered. No matter what happened, the shade left Silence alone. Almost Silence felt guilty for trapping that soul inside a small closet for all these years. Like, she's just getting her grandmother back, but her grandmother doesn't attack her, so, you know.
Yeah. It's like I almost felt bad, but I didn't really feel bad.
And then she finds Theopolis's cave. It says she hunted for 6 hours and found this cave about where she expected to. It has a silver barrier. Good. I can harvest that for good money. And she finds that corpse. Apparently, while all the other stuff was going on, Theopolis had snuck out, grabbed the corpse, and pulled it in here. I'm so glad for once you were a greedy man, Theopolis. I guess I'm going to have to find somebody new to start turning in my bounties now. What would the Fort Authority say when she explained Theopolis' death to them? Perhaps she could just claim she found him like that. And then we find out that she had a good story that she eventually came up with.
It was like that when I got here.
We cut back to Dagon, who is talking to Ernest again. The White Fox won't be looking for you anytime soon. You're lucky. Yeah, it turns out that this crazy tax collector, that dandy Theopolis, was the White Fox all along. And he got killed finally. But Silence found the body and the bounty that he'd been bringing in, and she got the money for it. How crazy is that? We won't see a hunter like him again. And Dagon's like, yeah, I guess not. He's like, and now what am I going to tell stories about so that people pay for my beers? May his soul know peace, and may the God beyond be thanked he never decided we were worth his time. Of course, there still is this other guy. Dagon starts telling a new story.
Yeah.
And then there's I didn't tell you guys to read the postscript, so I don't know if you do, but or if you did rather. But there's a funny bit because the postscript is him kind of explaining how the story came about, and he's like, "This story started when George R.R. Martin leaned over at a book signing the two of us were doing and was like, how do you do short? Hey, do you do short fiction? I told him I did long short fiction, and he invited me into one of his anthologies.
Hey.
And so the theme was dangerous women, and he didn't want to do like the cliched femme fatale thing or a woman soldier who's basically just a man with breasts. He wanted to come up with a different way for someone to be dangerous. And he's like, I wanted my protagonist to be a middle-aged mother. And I already had Threnody, like a fully built world in my head, so these things went together really well, and there you go. Who would name their daughter Silence? It seemed one of those beautifully Puritan names that wouldn't fly in most settings, but it was perfect for Threnody. And then he says, someday someone will pull out of us what Naz's real name is. So, ooh, look at that. And then he ends the whole thing with, you'll see more of this world in the future, most likely. So there you go. So I don't know if that gives you guys anything to make predictions off of. We got some interesting like Cosmere lore from the opening, but we'll open the door for that. Anybody have predicaments you want to make?
Nothing really set in stone, but I think that given what you mentioned about secret history, it wouldn't surprise me if we see the shadows, the shades popping up in other stories here and there, even if they don't get named. We know they do seem to come out of there, and it just seems, in terms of investiture, this planet is very volatile. Whatever the hell happened here fucked it up good. So yeah, stuff seems like probably going to leak off this planet and go show up in other places. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe Odium will take control of some, since this is his handiwork.
Yeah, I guess, and yeah, it is kind of his handiwork. Good point. I hadn't thought about it that way. I just, in my mind, it's it's due to ambition and ambition's power, but I guess it's because of odium. So yeah. It will be interesting if we see these shades popping up other places. They're freaky.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna go on a wild prediction and say that we're gonna hear or see somebody from Threnodite or talk more about somebody from Threnodite in Stormlight Archives Book 5. I think somebody from that place, if they haven't already shown up in that series, because we don't know since we've only read the first one, but I think they're gonna show up.
Is it gonna be Naz?
I mean, it could be. I mean, that would make sense, but maybe somebody else.
Okay.
Naz's arch enemy, Baz.
Yeah.
We already have Gaz.
And then
they're spreading.
And then his other archenemy, Taz from Tasmania.
It's just the Tasmanian devil from the Looney Tunes.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah.
It's a great arch enemy to have.
It's like, what on the horizon? Is that a high storm? No, it's a tornado of some kind.
Yeah.
Oh shit!
I don't know who was in charge of making the Looney Tunes video games back in the day, but like I'm hard pressed to think of a Looney Tunes video game that was not good.
Interesting. Can't think
Like
of
the
any Looney Tunes video game at the moment.
The Tiny Toons video game was a masterpiece, and then the Animaniacs. Well, that was Warner Brothers, but it's, in general, not Looney Tunes, but Animaniacs video games also amazing. Tasmanian Devil Sega game also amazing.
But yeah, it'd be interesting if one of these guys showed up in Stormlight. I can agree with that. I'm kind of with some of what you said at the beginning, Joe, that I want to know more about this stuff. Like, we get only the barest look at like what their culture is like.
Yeah.
And so I kind of want to know more.
Yeah, and like again, like, and maybe there's the setup for this. The young girl seems to be to me the most interesting character, and we get almost nothing about her except like her backstory was tragic. Like maybe she is the one that ends up being in later stories. That would be pretty cool if she like becomes like a really badass like assassin or something, or warrior. You know, it'd be pretty interesting.
The question I have regarding that is like, yes, she's a fascinating character, but is she fascinating because we don't get to know much and we're so curious about more? Is she one of those, if we saw inside her head, she might be less interesting?
No, I think she's pretty interesting because there's like a whole, maybe I misread it, but that whole part where she kind of like grabs the crossbow and is ready to like murder, it seems like something supernatural's happening to her. Like they says something like her eyes go black or something like that, and I was like, whoa, what?
Oh, did it? I missed that completely.
Hold on,
maybe,
let's go back.
Yeah, maybe I misread it. Here, let's have Data look at it.
She does seem like she's kind of like almost in a stupor, but I took that to be more of a natural, like PTSD sort of thing. Let's see.
Yeah, it could be.
Sabruki, let's see, those haunted eyes. Those haunted eyes were back. Eyes void of life and emotion. Eyes like a shade's. So it's the way that she's looking at her.
Yeah, okay.
Right. Which I get. Like, yeah, maybe you can't just put that down to emotional distress, but I don't know. It almost seems like something more is going on.
It could be.
Yeah, the way it's described, you could interpret it either way, I think. Now that you've said that, yes, I can absolutely see what you mean.
So, yeah, I will be interested to see more from this planet for sure, and from these people.
I guess another question would be, all right, we do, if there's a full-fledged book about this, would it incorporate the characters from this story?
Fair question. Who knows?
Like, I don't know. It's the same with Six of the Dusk. If he did a full-length novel about that book, like, would it be about that character, or would it just be like, all right, we've done some world building there, but like, I mean, you'd have to include the short story at the front of the book just so we knew who the fuck they were, yeah?
Interesting point. I guess it depends. Like, you could tell the story in a way that, like that you wouldn't have had to read this to understand it, but where reading this would give you a greater understanding, if that makes sense.
Yeah, okay.
That's how a lot of the Dresden Files short stories are. It's like you could read like the Thomas perspective one. You could read independently, but it wouldn't make as much sense as it, or maybe the other way around is actually a better way to put it, is that some stuff happens in some of the Dresden Files novels where if you've read the short stories, you have a better understanding of what's going on. But if you haven't read the short stories, you still follow the main story of the novel. You just miss the little references.
Yeah, and I don't like the idea of a novel being hampered because I can't understand everything because
Yeah.
I mean, especially for a while there, like with Dresden Files, it wasn't until like the second short story book came out that like all these short stories I'd heard so much about online, I couldn't read them. And so I'm like, am I missing references to them in the books because I haven't been able to get a chance to read them? And then Briefcase came out to finally get to put them all in context, and that's great. But there are still short stories for Dresden out there which I can't access because I can't find them without buying. Because like I don't want to buy a whole book of short stories.
Of short stories for just the one. Yeah.
Just for the one. Like if he's going to put out a book of all his short stories for Dresden, absolutely I'm going to get that. But like you know, like this one, like Sansi says it was in one of George R. R. Martin's compilations, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
But like they're not generally my preferred form of reading, and like it's a bunch of authors I may not have heard of and may not be interested in reading. Maybe I would if I tried it out. I don't know, but like don't really want to throw money at something if I might enjoy it and might not.
Right. I mean, that is how I guess the opposite. When there's a new like Dresden short, for example, I'm like, I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna read it, even if it means that I have the whole thing, the whole collection, and I've discovered some interesting stuff. Through those collections, like I'll get one because I know there's a Sanderson short story or a Dresden Files short story, and then I'll be like, oh hey, there's another author in here that I like, or oh hey, one of these other stories sounds interesting. I'll read that too, and I'll find something really good. I rarely read like the whole thing front to back, but I will look through and be like, let's see if which of these stories seems like it would interest me.
Yeah. I do remember there was one a long time ago now. I think it was when Rothfuss put out a story about Bast from Kingkiller. Yep. And it was in one of those compilations. And I think I tried a lot of the stories in that book. A friend lent me the book, and I just couldn't get into any of them. And maybe that's just turned me off the whole thing.
That's fair. That was the story about Bast is the Lightning Tree, which was in the Rogues anthology.
That's the one.
Let's see. I'm gonna look. But he recently released a standalone
extended version of it. Yeah,
it's the extended version of the Lightning Tree. It's got a new name, and it's supposed to be much longer than the original. I have not bought that one. I have intentionally stopped investing money into Rothfuss stuff, so I did not get that one. But it's also because I was just like, I've already read Lightning Tree. I'm not gonna go and pay for your extended version. But that's another George R. R. Martin anthology, actually. And there's
I think it was, yeah. Well, because he did a story that it's about one of the characters from House of the Dragon, it was incorporated into like World of Ice and Fire and Fire and Blood, I think. So I've already got that story in other books.
And actually, it's funny that you mentioned this one because this is the main one I was thinking about when I was like, sometimes I find other stories in there that I'm like, oh, this is really interesting. Because let's see, Rogues has a Joe Abercrombie in it. I don't. He did the what is his
First Law?
First Law trilogy. Thank you. I don't love
it's
that.
on my list. I haven't read it.
It's a little more grimdark than I like personally, but I've read that trilogy, and so he's got a short story in here. But I got this book and I discovered that there was a Scott Lynch short story in it. Scott Lynch did the Gentleman Bastards books that I've already mentioned once this podcast, which I really love. And so I was like, oh, he's got a short story in here, and it's not related to any other universe that he's already written in. It's an original, like a new thing where the summary in here is a retired thief is blackmailed into stealing an entire street within a year and a day. And the story's called A Year and a Day in Old Theradane. And it's actually a really excellent short story. I loved it. And there's even a Neil Gaiman in there called How the Marquis Got His Coat Back, which it happens in like the Neverwhere universe because the Marquis de Carabas is it's a character in Neverwhere. But anyway, so there's several good stories in that particular anthology, at least I think so.
I don't know if I read that. I might have avoided the Neil Gaiman and Joe Abercrombie ones because I'm like, well, I haven't read these series, so I'm not going to read the stories based in them until I've done that.
Sure.
Maybe.
I read Neverwhere like a lot, like when I was a teenager or something. It's been a very long time since I read that, but I like Neil Gaiman for the most part. He's written some amazing stuff. Okay, we're just drawing this out. Let's move into we have a new patron and a couple new emails. So let's do that. The first email is from Justin, and the title is New to Sanderson. Hi, just wanted to share some appreciation for the pod. I'm a brand new Sanderson reader. I picked up Mistborn, The Last Empire about a month ago, and found your pod as I was looking for some more context. It's been very helpful as I'm somewhat entirely new to the Cosmere, and it's great to hear everyone's POV. I'm now halfway through Well of Ascension and plan to follow your path through all the books. My goal is to catch up and experience it with the group in real time. Keep up the good work, from Justin. So, Justin, it may be a very long time before you hear your email, but thanks for writing. Hope you're enjoying your adventure.
I think you'll probably do what most people do, and it's like, well, I want to read along with you guys, and then realize this is taking forever, and you just go, which is okay.
Yeah, I do not begrudge anyone wanting to actually, read the books.
Yeah.
One of these emails has a 5-star review screenshot, so I guess be prepared. I'll read that one last, Joe, but give you time to pull that up. The next one is from Alex. It says, old joke. I'm just getting into the pod, but I wanted to say it's great so far. I gave you 5 stars on Apple Podcast if you're still doing the Misting Crew, or Radiant Orders if you moved on to that by now. But what made me reach out was you were all commenting in episode 50 about Kelsier apologizing for being late from inside Spook's head. But no one made the joke, the late Kelsier. And I wanted to make the joke, even though I'm probably not the first to think of it. Thank you for helping me enjoy my... Yeah, right. I don't know if that ever occurred to me.
I safely say no, never did.
But it was just part of Kelsier's character, even before he died, was he was always late for stuff. So
yeah.
Thank you for helping me enjoy my terrible commute, from Alex. The last one is from Nathan, and this is the one that has a Spotify review attached to it, so you can do that on the end. Love the podcast, Nathan says. Greetings, crew. I found your podcast on April 5th and just caught up. Yes, I listened on 2x speed, except anytime the Possum Hunter showed up, or during the Wayne rap. So yeah, you got to do normal speed for that.
Wayne rap, I forgot about that.
I remember the Spook rap.
Anyway, I've really enjoyed the podcast. Yours is easily the best Sanderson podcast I've listened to in quite a few. I love the odd tangents and riffing about pirate cooks and jam addicts. Please, yeah, who doesn't? Who doesn't love pirate cooks and jam addicts? Please don't forget that you've made a hugely popular podcast the way that you like to make podcasts, and don't worry too much about people complaining that it should be different in some ways. When things try too hard to please everyone, they always end up stale and boring, like the Dark Tower movie. Speaking of dark movies, Dak is right. Dark City is an awesome watch.
Hey! Yes, more people need to watch that movie.
Data on a scale of A to J, with A being not at all likely and J being extremely likely, how likely are they to make this certain prediction before it happens?
A to J, huh?
It's an odd scale.
I'm going to say...
Well, J is the 10th letter of the alphabet, so...
Well, yeah, but then why not just use 1 to 10?
I'm going to say H.
Because he wants to be different.
Actually, he says the A to J scale is in case you decide to answer this one live. They'll have no idea what you answered, so I wasn't supposed to tell you guys the scale. I did.
Oh.
I didn't tell you guys what it was you'd be predicting, so you don't know what to do with the answer anyway. But yeah,
we know what book it's in relation to.
Yeah, well, if 10's the highest, then H is pretty high.
Oh, yeah, no, I was thinking about that scale wrong, even though I read off to you the scale. No, so C.
Okay. So
thank you for reminding me
likely
what the scale is. It's a Stormlight prediction. I guess I will give you that. Where in the Stormlight books it is, who knows?
Well, yeah, I mean, what else do we have to read besides the extra stuff? So
we got 3 secret projects, and then the fifth secret project coming out next year. That's Cosmere based, yeah.
Yeah, it is.
The purple one. That's all I know about it.
Oh yes, it's purple. It's gonna be great.
It's purple.
Then he says, any chance we can get photos of Jaymee's super special cakes? Probably not. This has been discussed. Well, we can see. Maybe she'll let us put one on our Instagram.
Yeah, we'll talk.
Just imagine what it looks like.
Attaching a screen.
Once you imagine that, it's better than what you're imagining.
Attaching a screenshot of my Spotify rating so Joel will make me a misting. He likes to call people sir when he makes the mistings, and I'd like to be called sir without someone adding you're making a scene.
You're making a scene.
Classic
Simpsons.
Yep. I like
that's good.
You're good, Nathan.
All right, Nathan, sir, good sir, who's not making a scene currently. You're a tin eye, my friend.
Good. Sincerely, a man with a blasphemous name, Nathan. P.S. I'm surprised no one has made a Scrubs reference to the JD and JD hosts. Hey, number 2. I never really watched Scrubs.
I mean, Scrubs is fine.
Scrubs is one of those shows, like, if it was ever on, I sat down and watched it, I really enjoyed watching it, but I was never motivated to go and watch it consistently.
Yeah. I never
was
saw
kind of a-
Scrubs.
Yeah, it's definitely fun to put on, but I've never been driven like to go, oh, I got to watch more Scrubs,
Yeah.
which
And-
I don't know.
It wasn't serialized in such a way where I'm like, I must find out what happens.
Is it not?
I mean, it is serialized, but not in a way that I care about.
Fair enough. Okay.
Like, I could never bring myself to care enough about the characters to watch it in order, is what I mean.
I do remember when I was a teenager, it was on TV and I watched it and my dad was in the room. My dad despises American style comedy with a passion. So I think there was one guy, I think it was the Todd.
Oh,
who
yeah,
was
the
helping-
surgeon.
Yeah, and he was helping with an operation and like he's just like he was thinking to himself, I've got to be good. I can't make any inappropriate jokes or anything like that in this. And then someone set him up for a really obvious joke. I can't remember what it was. Like this happened nearly 20 years ago, but I just remember my dad just going, "That's bullshit. No doctor would ever do that." And he stormed out of the room.
Quality. Okay.
Although my dad also said he has never once laughed at The Simpsons, and my brothers and I all like remember when The Simpsons got him to piss himself laughing, not literally but figuratively, of course. And to this day, Dad swears it never happened, and all three of us like we were there, we saw it, it happened. It was when Krusty was playing Roosevelt in some play, and he gets up out of the wheelchair and starts pontificating. Like the actress behind him is shocked, is like, what the hell? And then halfway through his like big speech, he goes, "Oh wait, I'm crippled, aren't I?" And sits back down.
Yep.
Dad lost it.
Yeah.
Freaking
What you
Krusty.
didn't know, when you were watching Scrubs and he stormed out, he actually stormed out, went down the hall, and started laughing like uncontrollably. But he didn't want you to know that he thought it was funny.
Yep.
So there's a PPS from Nathan also. LOL at fuck spook Orion and Moash.
Yeah.
So there you
Those three are the worst.
go.
Yeah.
And then we have one new patron this week at the ska level is Iono. I-O-N-O. I hope this is a reference to, once again, the Gentleman Bastards books, where Iono is the god of the sea or lord of the grasping waters.
Well, I feel like if it is a reference, I feel like I almost have to make this person a Gasper.
Sure.
100%.
Yeah. Sorry. If that's not the reference you were going for with your name, I apologize, but you're a Gasper. Just gonna have to throw it out there.
You'll just have to live with it. Sorry.
Yeah, you're just gonna have to gasp for breath.
It's done.
Yeah,
So-
storing breath sounds like it would suck because you'd always be like,
Time for my nightly hyperventilating session.
yeah, exactly.
So now we will get into, for next time, we're going to read the prologue of Words of Radiance and then chapter 1. 2 chapters.
Alrighty.
Bum
Let's
bum
see.
bum.
Can we talk about what? Usually I've been giving you guys like the chapter names. Let's see. What are these
Would
things
that be
called?
giving it away?
I don't know. Let's find out.
About to find
I,
out.
I usually do it before you guys do your predicaments, so it's a little late now. But
Yeah.
let's see. The prologue is called To Question, and chapter 1 is called Santhid. Santhid. So there you go. Enjoy.
To question and Santhid. Okay.
Righto.
So
Maybe they meant to go together. Santhid is a philosopher, and it's like you meant to question Santhid.
you're supposed to question him specifically. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
I think therefore
Or her.
Descartes.
So, in case anyone was not clear, we are moving directly into the second Stormlight book, Words of Radiance, next week. We took our brief departure to do this story, and as I mentioned previously, the whole reason I put it here was because Odium gets mentioned right in the intro, and I was like, oh, well, I don't want them to know about Odium before they've heard about him in The Way of Kings, and that plan got shot all to hell by the Lost Metal. But what can what can you do?
What can you do?
What would you do for a Klondike bar?
Not much.
And it's like, but both in this essay and in Lost Metal, not only does it give away Odium's name, but also kind of his deal. He wants to fuck up the other shards. There we go.
Doesn't like other shards.
Cannot let other people play with similar toys.
Yeah. I think I'd be more inclined to eat a Klondike bar if it was on a stick.
Interesting. I'd never considered that before.
Well,
So-
it's chocolate coated ice cream, like a moo bar or whatever it's called.
Like a dilly bar from
Yeah.
Dairy Queen.
But it's big.
Or a
It's,
Mickey
like,
ice
massive.
cream.
Yeah.
On that note, so thank you everyone who sent us an email. If anyone would like to send us an email, the address is thesanderlanch@gmail.com. Find us on Instagram and X and Patreon, where we're still new contentless this week. I have I really want to start another. I've got 2 Sanderson books that I want to start reading. I just have not got the time these last couple weeks to start one while I'm sitting and recording. I keep coming to the last minute on editing the previous or the episode for the next week. And I'm like, well, getting an episode out Monday is more important than doing this, so I will do that first. But so I'm gonna get there. I'm just gotta find the time.
Did you have you mentioned like the name of the song for this one because it was a new one?
Thank you. Good call. So yes, the new Miracle of Sound song that we used only for this episode is called "The Savage Side of Me," which was for what game was that? Sorry, it was like up. I pulled up the YouTube video and it said up in the title like what the movie or what the game was, and then it cut to like Liberty Mutual Emu commercial, and I almost said this is about Liberty Mutual. No, wait.
Limu, Emu, and Doug. This podcast is not sponsored by Liberty Mutual.
Are you sure though?
I mean, it could be. It's not now.
Yeah. If an emu wants to sponsor us, let me know.
Yeah, if Doug wants in on this, I'll wear a stash. I don't care.
I love that. Okay.
The
says
mustache
it is-
of leadership.
It is a Tomb Raider song, is what this says.
Oh, interesting.
He did a 2024 remaster of the song. I probably should have seen if that one fit better, but I did not. So, oh yeah, here's another one with the actual picture of Lara Croft from the first game of like the Lara Croft reboot series or whatever. But anyway, so yes, The Savage Side of Me. I like it. This is one where when I heard it, I was like, you know what? I think I know where this is gonna go.
Cool. And we get a new song next week too.
We get a new song next week. I still have not chosen the song. So,
wow, down to the wire.
Yeah, this one has been one of the ones that's been hard for me to place, and I got the people in the Discord to contribute some ideas a couple of weeks ago, and so I've got a list of possibilities, but I need to sit down, listen to them all again, and pick which one I think fits. I've got good ideas for like the next 2 Stormlight books, but this one has been a little challenging for me to land on one so far. I just keep hoping that like he'll come up with a new song and I'll be like, oh, this is the perfect one. But it's a little late now to hope for that.
Yeah. Have you got the Secret Project song sorted?
I have at least one of them where when a new song came out, like a lot of people, including me, were like, oh, this is for that Secret Project. Like this is a perfect fit. So I don't know that I have it for all of them, but I want to say at least 2 of the Secret Projects. I've got a pretty good idea.
Very good.
But yeah, so it's funny because there's some that I have figured out, like some of the Skyward books, which we wouldn't read for a very long time because they're not Cosmere. But just when I heard the song, I was like, oh, this is a Skyward song. So and then there are some that are much closer, such as Words of Radiance, that I'm just like, I don't know. I'm still not sure. So this week, hopefully before we record the next episode, I will figure it out. I guess technically we could record the next episode and me still not have it figured out. I would just have to figure it out sometime that following week before the episode comes out.
What you need to do is just figure it out by the time you actually get to editing the damn thing.
I could get all the way to the end of editing before I absolutely needed it, but yeah.
How far could you stretch this?
Oh, I can procrastinate all day long. What are you talking about? It'll be great.
Yeah.
But yeah, so thank you everyone. Patrons, listeners, people on the Discord. If you want to join the Discord, there's a link on our website. There may even be some merchandise coming soon. I've shown the crew the mock-ups of a couple of things that a couple of designs that were worthwhile to put out there. So maybe look out for that coming soon. In the meantime, 2 chapters, the first 2 chapters, well, the prologue and the first chapter of Words of Radiance for next time. Music by Miracle of Sound. And wasn't to the time of next. Colo? P.S. Fasher. Crabs Ahoy still. I was like, do I need to replace this with? But no, that's not the way we do it.
And I won't lay down. There's a darker shade of courage in the strength of
was bragging. My dog's the best. Your dog sucks.
Don't have a dog. So.
That's
That's why
well,
it
it really
sucks.
sucks that